Okay, shall we start? Okay. Does everyone have the IPython notebook open? This is a platform called IPython notebook, and okay, this is a web browser, and all the Python code is ran behind in a terminal. And okay, who doesn't have this layout? Who doesn't have the notes open? Sorry. Do you need help?
Yeah, probably. Because I can upload because I just opened the.
Okay, just open the GitHub.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how should I open this.
Okay. Do you guys run it via Anaconda or just via normal terminal? So you can do Jupyter.
So I can open it with Jupyter Notebook.
Yeah, you can probably just type Jupyter Notebook on your terminal, and you can have the code open. But if you do it via Anaconda, you probably just click on the Anaconda logo. Oh, not this one. Okay, you probably click on Anaconda, and it's gonna open. I can't find it. I don't have Anaconda. Oh, this one. Okay, you should see something like this, like Anaconda Navigator, and then just click on top left. Top left. Yeah, I can't read it. It should be this one.
Yeah.
And it should open like Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook. Okay, once you open it, you can download the file I just sent you. I didn't just send you, I sent you a while ago. Okay, like this email. You can just save this into like your download or your documents, and you can just open it via Jupyter Notebook. Okay, I'll spend 1 minute helping. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Okay, if you click on a button, it should open a Chrome or open a Firefox for you, and you should just see a layout like this. Okay, this is just your file system, exactly how your file layout, and you just travel to maybe your download folder or your documents. Okay, I'll show you how it works. Okay, basically I have everything on the cloud, and you just you travel to your folder, and then okay, these are anything end with IPYNB, means IPython notebook, and you can basically click on it, and it will just bring you to a page. Okay, that was my page. Okay, give it a second. Okay. Okay, if you have problem opening it, maybe just use the GitHub page first, and
I think there's all the viewer for it.
you open it on your
The
mobile.
browser and then on the viewer.
Yeah, that's
So I think it's the simplest way to open your file.
yeah, but you can't code on it if you do use the
you
web.
need to do that?
Yeah, because we're gonna do some coding practice
Oh, okay.
on this. Okay, anyway, I'll just continue, and hopefully after class I can come to you guys and help you to install the package. Okay, so class 2, we're gonna talk about Python and talk about coding in general. So what exactly is an algorithm? So probably you heard of this word quite often, like algo trading. Like what's an algo? Any clue? Any thoughts?
It's like a formula.
Yeah, it's just a formula. So algo is like
A bunch of functions.
yeah, but a bunch of functions. It's just a fancy name to call formula. But you can also think of it this way: algo is like a book, and every function would be like a chapter. Okay. And if you think about, I think Kilian would know a lot of how to build a large-scale program. So let's say if you want to build a bank system or like a jockey club system, it's basically a lot of smaller parts, and then you have like a very good architecture that overlook the entire thing and then connect all the little blocks together. And maybe you can think of it this way: every piece of code is a chapter, and algo is a book. It's just some high-level idea. And the next thing we're going to talk about is why do we choose Python. Basically, why we choose Python is because it is very popular and it's very easy. If you look at the graph, Python is like 26.7% of the entire coding populations. The next one would be Java, and you also have stuff like C#, C++. If you are from finance, you do trading, you probably use C++. And for normal development, probably you will use Java. But why do we use Python? It's because it's very flexible and it's general purpose. Okay. Okay, I'll teach you how to use the notebook. So let's say you click onto your notebook, you can see it's operate like a cell. Okay, there are different blocks in the notebook. So if you want to create a cell, you just click B. Okay, A or B is fine. A is gonna create a cell on top. B, you're gonna create a cell below. Okay, and to delete a cell, you just double click D. D for dog. Okay, and you just remove the cell. Alright, so the next thing I'm gonna teach you is how to import a package. To import a package on Python, just type import, and the first package we're gonna import is called this. You just import this. Okay, I hope everyone got this. So Python is a very elegant and a very poetic language. So if you put import this, it's gonna give you a poem, and this poem is sort of like the philosophy of Python. And does everyone got this on your computer? Does it work? Okay. So it says beautiful is better than ugly. Simple is better than complex. Flat is better than nested. Okay. Basically, it just says try to do things as simple as you could. And when you code in Python, it's a bit like talking. So you just literally type what you want to do. And Python has very little restrictions on what you can code. Alright? It's just one thing is readability counts. So if you expect other people to understand your code, you probably have to name your variable wisely. Okay. Just quickly a comparison between Python and R. So R is a different language that is very popular in data science. And if you look at 2016, R is still more popular than Python. But this year, Python started to get more popular. So myself, I'm an R user. My first language is R, but I switched to Python because if you do things in R, the programmers are don't like you. Okay, because R is a very academic language, and it's very slow, but it's very handy if you do visualizations. But well, if you work with a programmer and you want to implement R code into like Java or stuff, it's going to be very painful. So nowadays, a lot of people do things in Python. Okay, another thing with Python is it has something called indentation. Okay, basically what you see Python code is in a block, and when you do like a for loop or you define the functions, you have to create a block. Okay, this is called indentation, and you can create it by using tab or 4 spaces. But I'm going to show you how this works later on. So this is just an example of how the structure looks like. This is a if statement. So basically, the program is if today is Saturday, just print out party, and else if today is Sunday, and if you have a headache, then just print recover, or else print rest. And you can see there's 2 layers of indentations. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And whenever you're on the first level, everything happens like this. And everything down the level is just stuff you want to do if that condition applies. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but it will make sense when you start coding. Okay, so finally some Python code, right? So start with creating a cell, pressing A, and then let's try to create, define a variable called x. Okay, let's say I want to call x equals 1. Okay, so just open a cell, type x equals 1, and how do you execute the line? You do it by Control Enter. Okay, and now open another line, just press X and execute it. Oh. Okay, now x equals to 1. Okay, and okay, if you do it in a command line, that's not a good way to do it. Oops. Okay, basically this is what's happening in a command line, but this cell is just visualize it in a fancy way. Okay, so in Python you can also do not only numbers, but you can do string. Okay, what it means by string, it's things bounded by this to a little string. Okay, you can type things like Patrick, you can define x equals Patrick. Okay, so now computer remember this variable, and x is now Patrick. Okay, And computer can also do different stuff. Let's say if y equals helium, okay, and you want to combine the two strings. In Python, you just do x plus y. Okay, now you combine the two strings. Okay, I'll make the screen a little bigger. So yeah, that's better. Okay, sorry, bear with me. Okay, is it clearer for everyone? Okay, so that's how you concatenate the two string. Just do name equals Patrick, last name equals Lang, and then you do name plus last name. It gives me Patrick Lang. That's my name. Okay, and if you want to do like a comment on the code, just put hash. Okay, you can see everything goes gray, and you can type whatever you want. So in a proper coding environment, all your code should be commented, so everyone can understand what you're trying to do. Okay. Okay, just some notes. Start comment with hash, where the rest of the line is ignored, and you can also include a document string, which is 3. I don't know what is called. 3 string thing. Okay, you can do it this way. Okay, and everything in between will be ignored when you print it. Okay. Okay, let's talk about data types. What data types do we have in Python? Data types includes integer, float, and strings. So how computer understands things? It doesn't understand it like a human being, but it just memorized the memory type. Okay, so probably computer can understand 1. It's gonna understand it as a number. Okay, if you do type and then you bound it by curly bracket, it's just gonna give you the type of the thing you type in. Okay, integer means a round number, and float means something with a decimal place. Okay, I'll probably make this a little bit too big. I'll just make it smaller. Okay. Okay, I apologize for my slow computer. Okay, if you do type and then you put a string inside, it's gonna give you a string. Okay. So now you understand there are 3 types of data type in Python. So it's integer, float, and string. And the reason why you need to understand this is because the 3 types behave differently. So let's say, okay, you put a string 1 and you plus a string 2. It behaves differently from you doing 1 plus 2. Okay. Okay, my computer is really slow. Okay, if you do 1 plus 2, it's gonna give you 3. But if you do string 1 plus string 2, what's it gonna give you? 1, 2. Yeah, it's gonna give you 1, 2. Okay. How about if you do 1 plus 2.0? Okay, it's gonna give you 3.0. Okay, but from Python 3 onwards, float and integer can be interchanged. So they understand both as the same thing. Alright. Okay, does this make sense for everyone? String 1 plus string 2 means string 1, 2. Okay, and just to add it, computer doesn't understand this as 12. Okay, it just understands it as a string with 1 and 2. Alright. Okay, so we have name equals Patrick and Paul. In Python, if you want to check if something is the same, you just do this double equal. Okay, if you do double equal, it means checking whether or not the two variables is the same, and it's going to give you something called a boolean. What it means by boolean is either true or false. Okay, and if you do it like this, exclamation mark and equal, it's basically checking whether or not this two variable is different. So because they are different, it's going to be true. Okay. So okay, you guys have average Python score of 3.5, so you should be able to do some simple if statement. So I think everyone knows Excel in here, so you do know if statement. So in Python, you can also do if statement. So let's say you want to do if 1, okay, if 20 is bigger than 10, then I'm gonna print out, oh sorry, yes, it is bigger. And then if not, then I'll print no, it is smaller. Okay, that's a very simple if statement. And this is something so-called the indentation on line 2. Okay, and the logic in here means first sentence is your starting statement, which is okay, just the conditions. And the second thing, it's if the statement is true, what should I put? Or else, what should I put? And every, I don't know how you call it, but you can think of it like a sub-statement. It is under the indentations. So what if I want to keep going with this logics and do another if? Say if, I don't know, if Patrick is equals to clever, I don't know, print great, else print away. Okay, it's gonna go this way. And the reason why this whole thing is a block away is because I want to run the logic this way. If the first statement doesn't apply, I'm gonna go into here. Right, so this whole thing only happens if the first statement goes wrong. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Any question? Please let me know. Okay, let's keep going. And okay, we know that 1.1 is type float. Okay, so just briefly talk about Anaconda. So Anaconda is something for beginner in Python. And probably you have Anaconda installed. And I think it is a very user-friendly way to start. But after the course, if you want to keep using Python, I would recommend you to uninstall Anaconda, because if you're using a Mac, there are already one Python on your Mac. So if you install two Python and you start installing library on it, Mac sometimes will confuse which Python do you want to install library on. So it's always recommended to have one Python on your machines. Okay. So, but anyway, you can still use Anaconda. And what we're using right now, this layout, is called a Jupyter notebook. Okay, a Jupyter notebook is just a fancy layout for you to read your code. And you can do all sort of amazing stuff, like printing graphs or having colorful code. It alerts you when there's a warning, etc. But this is not something people will use in a real world. Okay, I think only data scientists might use it, but proper software engineer probably won't use Jupyter Notebook. Okay, just to let you know. And this is some sort of fancy time series graph that you can plot out. And probably it's too late, but this is how you open your notebook. Just click launch. Hopefully it works. Okay, some Python fundamental. We covered this. Python is a object-oriented language. Okay, what it means by object-oriented is you give nicknames to your values. Okay, what it means by nickname is I think the best way to think of it is in Hong Kong, when you have a typhoon, the government will give ridiculous name to the typhoon, just for the sake of everyone referring to the same typhoon. Because it's very hard to say, okay, the typhoon coming on Tuesday is going to be very dangerous. If you talk about it this way, it's going to be very confusing. So in Python, we name variables or functions in a thing called objects, and it's just a nickname for things. So you can define a variables called Patrick, and just call it, give the value of 1. So from now on, Patrick is 1. Okay, but okay, what's gonna happen if I run this? I want to check if Patrick is not equal to Patrick.
I think it's false.
You think it's false?
I do.
How many people think it's false? How many people think it's true? True. But false? No, false. Okay. Okay, it's true. Because Patrick is not equal to this Patrick. Patrick is 1 at the moment. And the reason for this is this is a string and this is a variable. Okay? Does everyone truly understand? Okay? It's okay if you get a little bit confused at this stage. It's gonna work out fine after you've done a few exercises. Okay, you can call this 100 maximum or 1000 a distance, and name join. It's gonna remember it properly. Okay. And this print function is just to print out your variables, just to, in case you want to check what the variable that has a value right now. Okay. In Python, we can also do multiple assignment. So if you want to assign multiple variables to one same value, you can do it this way. X equals Y equals Z equals 1. And then if you print out X, Y, Z, Okay, it's gonna remember everything. Okay, you can also do things like this. You want to do it sequentially. You want to define x and y and z equals to 1 and 2 and join. You can do it this way. Okay, x, y, z. As long as you keep the sequence, it's going to work. Okay, so yeah, you can do Samson, and then y is now Samson. Okay. Okay, probably this is quite easy for you guys. Should I quickly go through it, or you want to revise, or is that too simple? Okay, I'll go through it. Okay, in this case, y is equals 2.3, print y, z is equals, this is z, and print z. Okay, one thing you want to bear in mind in Python is every cell runs line by line. Okay, it runs from the first one, second one, third one, fourth one. It's a sequence. Okay, so if you click Ctrl Z, y will be defined before z. So if I do it this way, if I say z equals Patrick, and then z equals helium. Okay, so what's z now? What's the value for z? Helium, right? And the moment, the only way to check it is just to type it, helium. And why is it helium now?
Because it's the last, the latest step.
Yeah, it's the latest step. So what exactly happened is, in here, z is defined as this is z, and then it was defined by Patrick, and then defined as helium. So the value keep on changing. And because we run it from the top to the bottom, so now z is a helium. Okay. And this is just another example of doing hello world. You can name a variable called hello, name a variable called world, and then I don't know why you need x plus 1 here. Okay, then you can just do a concatenate of these two variables plus a space, and it's gonna give you hello world. Okay. And of course, Python can act like a computer. You can do, no, calculator. I mean, you can do very simple calculations like x plus y. You do x is 10, y is 9, and you do x equals x plus y, and it's gonna give you the number. Okay, you can do plus, minuses, subtraction, multiple, etc. Okay. Okay, I'm sure you guys is fine with this. Multiplication, you don't use x for multiplication, but use the I don't know how to call it, the star sign. Okay. Okay, and if you saw a star in here, it means Python is thinking. Okay, it's running, and it's probably stuck somewhere around here. And let's say if you saw this case, say, okay, unexpected error when doing blah blah blah, and you want to restart Python, you can just go to kernel and click restart. Or you can change it to a different kernel, or you can just shut down. Okay, it's gonna ask you to shut down, and then you can check this top right hand corner. It says kernel is not running. Okay, so now Python is dead. Okay, you're gonna restart it. Okay, you can do restart, and just keep on checking your top right hand corner. If kernel is idle, then everything should work fine again. Hopefully. Okay, it works fine. Okay, again, division is just a okay, it's just like Excel, just slash. Okay. Alright. This should be fine, like 10 divided by 3 should be 3.33333 something. And if you do a string in front of it, the whole thing would become a string. Okay. Okay, one thing I forgot to teach is if you want to force something to be a different data type, say want to turn 1 to a string, just put string in front. Or if you want to put it to a float, just put float. Okay. And what happens if you put this? Okay, Patrick is not a number. If you put a float in front of it, what's going to happen? Okay, it's going to give you an error. Okay, that's how an error looks like in Python. And okay, probably for beginners, this kind of stuff looks very scary. Okay, value error. Are you gonna burn my computer or something? But actually, you can see the logic in here. So probably Python is gonna point you out which line of code you have error. So let's say you have 100 lines of code, and one of the line has error. It's gonna point you to exactly where is the error. So this is very handy. So let's say you have x equals 1, y equals 2, and then let's put something else underneath. It's gonna tell you, okay, on line 5, this is the error. And the reason is because it cannot convert string to float. Okay, and this is very clear, and probably you can trace back and change your code. And this process is called debugging. Okay. So, okay, just simple stuff. How to do exponents. So 5 to the power of 10 is just 2 star signs. Okay. I don't even know if this is correct, but you can do 2. Okay, 1024. This should be fine. Okay. Okay. Apart from standard single-digit value, because we're dealing with a lot of data, it can't be just one variable, but it has to be a lot of variables, right? So in a computer world, we have something called a list, or you might call it an array or dictionary. So basically, let's say we have a class of students. The first student is called Patrick. Okay. The second student is called Samson. And then we have Florence and I don't know, helium. Okay. So how can I handily handle all these 4 values? You can just place them inside a square bracket. So x, y, z, and a. Put everything inside. Okay, now it's handy. Now everything is in one bracket. And we can just call it data science class. Okay. So now whenever you call DSML, okay, now we have 4 students. And it's always handy because it's always saved in 4 characters. Okay? And the advantage for this is handy and you can do calculation quite easily. So let's say I want to count how many students are there in my class. I can just do length DSML. Okay, there are 4 students. Alright. And you can do all sort of stuff. If you do a plus for a toString, it's just going to give you a longer list. Okay. I hope it makes sense. So the other thing is, I think X is Patrick. Okay, X is Patrick, and for this kind of information like list or string, you can do something called indexing in Python. So indexing is like choosing some of the members on the list. So let's say I want to choose the first students in the class. I just put DSML square bracket 0, and it's just gonna give me Patrick, and then you can do, okay, I want the first 3 students, just do DSML colon 3. Now you have the first 3 students. Okay, what happens if I want the last students? You just put -2. Okay, then, okay, actually that's not the last one. If you go to DSML, I think I shouldn't do it this way. If you do it this way, it's the second last. If you do -1, it's gonna be the last students. So indexing in Python works from 0, 1, 2, 3, and you can also do it this way. This is -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay. -4 is Patrick. Okay. You can also do something like this. So in Python, a list and a string is very similar. So in this case, I define pat, P-A-T, and a small pat, string, P-A-T. Okay. The 2 things are different. You do small pat, okay, it's just pat. Okay, but basically, because the 2 things operate quite similar, you can do small pat, first item, it's gonna give you P, and you can do 0 to 2, it's gonna give you PA. Okay, and because the 2 string or 2 list, if you plus it together, it's gonna give you a longer list. Oh, it doesn't work this way. Okay, sorry, give me a moment. Okay, pat plus pat, and small pat plus small pat. It's just concatenating 2 things. Okay. Okay, for numbers, Python also have different numbers like int, long, float, complex, but you shouldn't be worrying about long and complex. Okay. Alright, so I'll quickly go to here. We have lists and tuples, and probably don't really need to worry about tuples, because tuples just like a list that always retain the order. Okay. Okay, we are a bit running out of time, so I'll just okay, I'll talk about this. So let's say you have a list called y, and you want to remove one of the item. You just do delete y1. Okay, that's deleting one of the item. Because you delete this item, and it's gonna give you A and C. Okay. Alright. And
If we go also see the part.
sure. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So this pop function just do the same thing, but just has the different syntax for that. So this curly bracket 1, 2, 3, 4 is something called a tuple. Tuple is something you can't mess up with the order. It always retains the order, and apart from that, it performs quite similar to a list. Okay, sometimes it's useful, but I don't use it very often. Okay, so for a list, let's say for our DSML, let's say if I want to add one more member, I want to add someone called, I don't know, Sam. Oh, okay, David. I just do dot append, and from now on, DSML has one more member called David. Okay, just some basic operations. And for a tuple, you can't do it this way. Okay, I'll quickly skip through libraries. Okay, Boolean. Okay, another great things is true plus true equals 2 in Python. And the reason is, okay, if you do the type of true, just put an integer in front of true, it's gonna be 1. And if you put false,
0?
yeah, it's gonna be 0. Okay. So basically, this not equal is just exclamation marks and equals. Okay, if statement we talked about. Okay, 15. If x is 15, if x is larger than 20, print yes, or else print no. Very clear logic. Okay, this one is something different. So if we want to do x equals x plus 1, you can simplify the syntax to x plus equals 1. Okay, the two thing means the same thing. Okay. Okay, I'll quickly skip through the if. Oh, actually. Okay, now you have exercise to write a Python program to test whether a number is within 100. Okay, I'll do it in front of you, but try to think along the way how the logic works. So write a program to test whether a number is within 100. So let's say if you want to test a number, you first have to define a variable. Let's say the number I want to test is 99. Okay, and you want to write a test. So whether a number is within 100. So a statement is check if x is smaller than 100. Okay, but at this point, you're not done yet. You need to let Python know you have finished talking. So what it means by that is to put a colon. Okay, now you can see there's a clear indentation. Once I put a colon and I press enter, it's gonna stop me at the indentations. So I'm gonna write my statement. If x smaller than 100, what should I do? I'll just say yes, it is within 100. Or else just print no, it is not. Alright, and the logic goes, now you can check. Now you can key in whatever number you can think of. You can put 99.9999, and it's gonna, yes, it's within 100. But if you put 9999, it's gonna give, no, it's not. Okay. Hope this is clear. And then now if you want to put everything inside functions, so what it means by function is what you usually encounter when using Excel. So in Excel you have all sorts of functions that you can do sum, bracket, sum all the cells, etc. This is very similar. Let's say I want to wrap this whole thing into functions. You only need to do something like this. Define means defining a functions. And the name of the functions, let's say I call it within 100. And my input is called x. Alright, so if I do it this way, it's going to wrap up everything inside the functions. So from now on, this piece of logic is no longer called this long piece of code. It's going to be code within 100. Okay, nice and simple. But now, because we want to reserve our output, instead of print, we put return. What it means by return, it's your output of the functions. If you don't understand what's output and input, think of it this way. A function is like you have an input, you put your box, you put your input into a box. And think of it, after it put everything into the box, it gives you, put it into the output. Okay, so what you need to define is what's the input and what's the output. And in this case, x will be your input, these guys will be your output. Okay, now that you execute the code, you're gonna define a function's code within 100. And you do within 100, and you can start using these logics. Just click within 100 and you can check whatever number you put in. Alright, nice and simple. Hope it makes sense. And then, okay, I'll do the exercise in front of you because we don't have much time left. So the exercise is write a set of conditions that check to see if n is divisible whole by 2. If yes, then print n is even. If not, print n is odd. Okay. So I've attached some example. This percentage means residual. So if residual equals 0, it means divisible. So we can test it this way. Okay, because the question is check if n is divisible by 2. Same piece of logic. Just if x is divisible by 2, print or else print no. And then now you can test it by inputting whatever number you can think of. Oops, I did something wrong. So x, this thingy, has to be equal to 0. Okay, now you can check 4 is divisible by 2, but 5 is not. Okay, and the reason is because this statement is false. X, this is not equal to 0. Okay. Sorry, I'm a bit over time, but I'll try to finish it in 5-10 minutes. Okay. Okay, if you can't copy this code, don't worry, I'll send it back to you at the end of the class. Also, okay, we have a different thing called a loop in the functions. Okay, so loops basically is like asking the computer to repeatedly doing things for you. Okay, so let's say I have a lot of items. Okay, and I want to ask the computer for every item in these items. I will do item times 2. Okay. Then what's expected to happen is every item on the list will be double. Okay. And you can do all sort of stuff times 3, or you can do divided by 3, etc. Or you can even, I don't know, put it to a string and just say just transform the transform the code. Okay. And this whole piece of code, the logic works this way. If I have a list of items, okay, now that if I print it out, I'm not creating a new variable. If I want to store my results, I have to create a variable to store it. It's like I have a plate and I have a lot of chocolate, and now I have to put every chocolate on top of my plate, or else it's just right there on the table. I'm not wrapping them up into a variable. So this empty list is my plate. Okay. If you do a bracket like this, it means creating an empty list. And if you do for item in items, just put all the item into this empty list. But when I do this, I'll do x times 2, item times 2. Okay, so now what my empty list is gonna be, it's gonna be a long list but double. Okay, I hope it makes sense. And the whole logic of how to read this is for item in items. That means for every item in this list of items. Okay, and I'll do one operation for every time I loop it, and the operation is item times 2. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. But in Python, there's a very elegant way to do this. Basically, yeah, if you don't get it, it's fine. You don't have to use it, but it's way quicker to use it. Just do item times 2 for item in items. Okay, and it's just going to give you a very long list. Basically, it's just a different way of writing this piece of logics, but you can do it in one line. And this is something called list comprehensions. Okay. Okay, I'll try to finish before 9:30. There's some other things called while list, while loop. So it means while this statement is true, I'm gonna keep on doing things. Okay, and if you run this, it's gonna print out yes, yes, yes every 1 second. Okay, and it's not gonna stop. So I'm gonna stop it. So if you put interrupt, now you interrupt your code. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll quickly go through this exercise. Or should I give you as homework? Okay, probably I'll give you. Okay, I'll do the first question for you, and the rest of them would be your homework. So I'm a bit over time. So let's say the exercise is to find the maximum, mean, and minimum of the list without using any mathematical functions. So now I have a random list like this: 12, 29, 10, 16, 28. How can I find the maximum? It's tricky because you're not allowed to use this. Okay, so we have to do a for loop. For every item in X, I'm gonna try to do something. Oh, sorry. Okay, so what I need to do is I want to find 29. I want to print out 29. So what I can do is I can define a maximum, and I can give it whatever number it is, and I can do something like if I is bigger than m, then m is equals to I, and else do nothing. And then you print out m. Okay, now it prints out 29, and that's how you find out the maximum. And the whole piece of logic in here is now you have an initial value for m, and you just keep on trying every value on the list to check whether or not I is bigger than m. If yes, replace the value, and then this way you can find the maximum. And I will leave minimum and mean as a homework. Okay. But before you go, I'll go through this next class.
Sure. One question about the example you gave us.
Yeah.
Because you typed in nothing, is it possible just when we go, just write else and then just fill and just leave it?
Okay, let's go back to the cell. Okay, I can't find it. Okay.
Yeah, could we just write else and then, or just not write else, just like we go like that?
Yeah, the only way to find out is to try it.
I understand
so,
like the else is there is if there is like
yeah.
Other possibilities.
Yes.
But generally you can throw.
Yeah, you can do just if. Yeah. For in here, else is just for you to understand there should be an else.
Okay.
But just do nothing. But you can skip it. You can just do comment out 29. Okay. So okay, let me think. Okay, here are some challenges. I think I forgot to remove my previous answers, so we have the answers in here. But remember, I say every Tuesday you will have a homework that needs to be done by next Monday and email to me. So your homework is to build a game. Okay, this game is called Hangman. Anyone heard of Hangman before? Okay, Hangman is just a game that you have a list of words, and then you randomly choose one of the words, and then you have to guess. You have to key in characters, okay, and if you key in the right characters, it's gonna print out right or wrong, okay. So try to think about it. It's actually quite simple. It's just a lot of if statement and a lot of while statements. Okay. If you need some hints, you can email me, or you can think about it. But yeah, that's it for today. And just revise the whole thing and try to do the exercise. Okay, I hope I'm not. Yes.
So when is for next Tuesday?
Yeah, next Tuesday. But please email it to me on Monday. So, okay, I hope this is not too boring. Hope you learned something. But yeah, see you on Thursday. Thank you. Thank you.